Hi everyone, this lesson is about how to elaborate the events in your personal recount. Okay, we'll be talking about writing strategies, the reason why we must elaborate, and how do we decide which parts of our recounts to elaborate. And how do I go about elaborating so that my readers will actually enjoy reading my recount? Okay, firstly, um, reading strategies help us to read better, so writing strategies help us to write better. A strategy is simply a series of actions, a series of steps that you can do consciously to make your writing or reading better. Okay, now, so this video lesson is about elaboration. It is a writing strategy, a series of steps that any student can try, no matter which level of your English proficiency. Okay, you can try out. All right, anyone can try out. So to elaborate means to give more details on new information about something. So for example, if I say, please elaborate on the places where we will be visiting in Korea, I want you to tell me more detail or more information. All right, or you can say the boss elaborated on the things to do for the day. Okay, why must we elaborate our personal recount? Now, this is a recount that has not been well elaborated. Yesterday was the first day of school. I went to school in the morning. I made a few friends. I was happy. I went home after school. So imagine that this is the entire essay. Well, there are no details. All right, the student simply told us um, very briefly what happened uh, on that day. So this recount doesn't tell us much because there's no elaboration. It's not fun to read. It's not interesting to read. Where are all the interesting details? So elaboration helps our readers and listeners to be interested. So how do we, but we know that it's important to elaborate, and you have always heard your teachers asking you, please elaborate. But how do we actually elaborate? So I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. Firstly, right, choose the parts of the recount that you want to elaborate. Not every part needs to be elaborated. Okay, if you elaborate every single part, it may sound a little bit long-winded, okay, and it still sounds boring at the end of the day. So you need to choose the right parts of your recount to elaborate. Next, you give more details by showing and not telling. I'll tell you what we mean by show and not tell. Okay, so this is an example of a recount that has not been elaborated yet. The title is A Fun Day at Science Center. So at 8 in the morning, you woke up and got ready, you walked to school, and then you played many fun games. Okay, so an exhibition, and finally we had to go back to school. Now, if you just read this recount of 6 sentences, honestly, I can't really imagine how fun it was because the author didn't give me details on how it was, how fun it was at the science center. There were just no details in this recount. Okay, so how to elaborate? I'm going to show you one example. So for example, this is a boring sentence. We walked down the crowded street. Okay, so which parts should the writer elaborate on? Well, out of these 6 sentences, I think that this part where he says we played many fun games should be elaborated. And this part where he said that we even saw an exhibition of our dinosaurs should be elaborated. He should tell me how the dinosaurs look like. And he should tell me what sort of fun games did they actually play. And why were these games actually fun to him. Okay, so the rest are not exactly very important, like this one. If you have watched the previous video on how to begin personal recount, I talked about how these details like waking up, having breakfast, brushing teeth, they are very boring. Avoid writing all these things. Alright, so you should elaborate on, I guess, the games part and the exhibition. If you want to talk a little bit on the bus, I guess it's okay, but I think the focus, the longest paragraphs, okay, should be those that are talking about the games and the exhibition. Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to elaborate. So for example, this is a boring sentence. We walked down the crowded street. There's nothing, no other detail given. So this is an interesting example, alright? So you say we inched down our way down. So instead of just saying walk, you use a better verb. If you're inching your way down, that means you are walking in a very small steps, okay? Probably because you have difficulty walking. Difficulty walking a certain distance because there's just too many people in this case, alright? Rubbing shoulders with others, the air felt almost suffocating. Everyone seemed to be frowning, so you tell me what you saw, you tell me what you felt. Excuse me, I heard a voice call, you tell me what you heard. Then what do you do? Okay, you shuffle your feet, and then this is what happened next. Alright, so instead of just saying that it was crowded, you kind of elaborate, okay, about how crowded it was, what did you do, you know. You give me pictures, you give me sounds, alright. Make use of your five senses. This is a good way to write. Okay, my mother scolded me and I apologized. Okay, some students when they write personal recounts, when they come to the sort of the most important part of the recount, let's say in this case, if you're writing about how you disappointed your mother once, if let's say your recount is about that, then this part will be the most important part of your entire composition. But many students, they spend a lot of time talking about how they brush their teeth, but they spend very few sentences or only one sentence telling me about the most important part of the entire recount. Okay, so how can you elaborate this sentence? So instead of just saying my mother scolded me, you say, where have you been? My mother screamed. How did your mother scold you? You see, describe to me using dialogue. You can give your essay some sounds, right? Even before I could respond, my mother started to nag about how irresponsible I was and how worried she was. So this part is still talking about how she scolded you. A lot of detail here. Feeling guilty for making her worry, I swallowed hard and muttered, I'm sorry, Mom. So this is how you apologized, right? So instead of just saying it briefly, tell me exactly what happened. So one important tip is to break that important event down into mini events, smaller events. So what exactly did she first do? She screamed first, okay? How did you respond? All right? And what happened next and what happened next? Okay? So break it down. Don't just in one sentence tell me the whole thing, okay? Break down the event. Second, every few seconds there's some action going on. So tell me all these little actions, events, these mini events. Another tip, use your senses. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell? All right. Especially during when you are describing the important part of your entire recount. So how do you feel? We inch down, it was suffocating, okay? You rub shoulders with others. When your reader read sentences like this, your reader can almost feel what you were feeling. What did you see? Everyone seemed to be frowning. You saw frowning faces. You saw people who are uncomfortable. What did you hear? You heard a voice, right? Excuse me. Okay. So let's conclude the lesson. We have learned a writing strategy today. All right. There are 2 steps to the strategy. First step is to break down the event to mini events. And the second step is to use your 5 senses. All right. So we have come to the end of this lesson, and please try to make use of what you have learned in this lesson. Okay, the next time you write a personal recount, try to elaborate more, especially on those really important events. And for those events that are not important, okay, usually the part where you talk about how you prepare to go to school, how you prepare the day at the start of the day, you prepare yourself at the start of the day. These are not important. Don't elaborate on those things. And if possible, don't even mention them. All right, go right into the action. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll see you again.